Lighthizer strikes a tough tone on China trade talks. Lighthizer said it's still unclear whether the Chinese will meet US demands, but that the issues were to don't. The comments from the lead US negotiator were a sharp contrast to Trump's sunny remarks earlier this week, in which the two countries were close to reaching a deal. The American president said he would participate in a with Chinese leader Xi Jinping sometime next month at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida, potentially putting an end to a long-standing trade impasse that has rattled Wall Street, cramped the Chinese economy and taken a bite out of U.S. farm and import businesses. But Lighthizer, who acknowledged a signing ceremony would take place, made clear any deal with the Chinese would have to be specific. He said any imminent deal would be one step forward in a much longer process to fundamentally change Chinese unfair trading practices, which include intellectual property theft and forced technology transfers. He also told House lawmakers any deal would be a binding agreement, regardless of whether or not it was called a memoranda of understanding, a term the president made clear he intensely dislikes in from the Oval Office last week. Lighthizer made clear to lawmakers that the Trump administration had no intention of submitting the terms of the deal to Congress for approval. Instead, the Trump administration had been planning to escalate tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese goods from 10% to 25% this weekend if they were unable to broker a deal. On Sunday, Trump tweeted plans to delay those increases, citing substantial. Lighthizer told lawmakers that the process is underway to update a government notice to halt the trigger of harsher tariffs, which was expected to take effect at 12:01 a.m. on Saturday. One of the key issues that is still being is on currency. Treasury Secretary, when asked about the prospects of a currency deal, the trade envoy dispelled that, saying, "There's
raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. I keep fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.